All right, going right into it and sticking with the Balatro music. I don't care. We're sticking with it. All right, so time for the final recap. Final recap for the HRL Summer Short Track Showdown. So we ran the grand final. How did the grand final go? First race, Autodome. Honestly, pretty competitive and a few comers and goers in this one. A few lead swaps. There was a decent amount of cautions, but I actually thought this was a pretty good terrain oval race. I thought there was some really good, like when there weren't the constant cautions happening, which it wasn't. I don't know. I think this was kind of an average race in that regard. I don't think it was that bad with the cautions. I think it was pretty average. But when the green flag runs happened, I feel like the battles were actually really good on this. I thought it was a fun one to race in, fun one to watch. And in the end, I ended up taking the win on this one. Slaunch second and Detail third, Soul fourth, Nightmare fifth. We could probably go through the whole order with the 8-person grand final. Hunter sixth, Camby seventh, and Roman eighth. Roman's finish was really unfortunate on this one. There was a late caution that ended the race a lap early, and on that race to the line for what was essentially the final lap, Roman wrecked or got wrecked. I don't remember exactly how it was. I think he was trying to go for an inside move on Soul and then like got flipped somehow. It's been a while. But that's what was off the top of my head. I think that was accurate. And yeah, that was really unfortunate because Roman would have gotten a top 5 at least, I think, and ended up finishing last. So yeah, super unfortunate. But for everyone else, I mean, Slaunch and I up front, that's kind of how the train ovals were going for a lot of the season, so that's not too surprising. And Detail third with rebounding for another solid finish and kind of where he's been a lot of the time on these train ovals. In fact, I think the first, second, third was literally like the train oval point standings. So yeah, it kind of went as expected for the first race on Autodome, but good battles. I thought it was fun. Then we go to Haagen-Dazs AX, switching it up here with the Hog AX out of Slaunch. And Roman, the downside of finishing last in the first race that he finished last. The upside is that he got a really good starting position for this one. Not that the win with this track was all starting position, but it definitely doesn't hurt. But yeah, he ended up taking the lead pretty soon. It wasn't like super early. Hunter actually led a lot of the early laps, but Roman did get there pretty early on and then kind of ran away with it. Took the win in this one. Detail second, tried to chase him down, but just way too much gap at that point for Roman. Third, Slaunch had a really good comeback in this one. He had a terrible start. The third was a really good finish. I ended up taking fourth. Fifth was Hunter. Pretty good run for Hunter in fifth on this one. Soul sixth, Camby seventh, and Blake in eighth. Blake was having lag issues. I think he chalked it at some point around here. Blake was having like very, very noticeable lag issues, and unfortunately we didn't get any of the potential fill-ins to join in. I think they already called it a night at this point, so it's unfortunate that we didn't get like the full field for each race. But again, I get it from both perspectives. Like Vulcan probably would have been the fill-in, but Vulcan probably once we're 2 races in probably called it a night because probably assumed that he wasn't needed. And Blake was just having super bad lag issues, and it was like visible, and like when everybody else can see it, that's when you know it's bad. So I don't really blame him for calling it a night either. It's kind of an unfortunate situation. But yeah, that race went the way that it did, and it was good for points mix-ups. That closed in the points gaps a lot with that one. And then we go to Jade Park. This was probably the crucial race as far as the regular points battle goes, because again, the regular season points battle was going on at the same time here. I think this was the crucial race of the night for that and the grand final. And the reason why is because Soul ended up winning this race. Detail second. I got third. Camby fourth. Roman fifth. Slaunch sixth. Hunter seventh. Now, how did those results come to be? Soul had a rough Haagen-Dazs. He obviously started towards the front in this one, and he got to the front, and to his credit, did a good job of holding on to it. Do I think Soul had like the best pace? And could we see in the VOD, and like I think he would even agree that no, he did not have the best pace, but he had that starting position and he took advantage of it. And the one time he was challenged for the lead was actually Camby. Camby had a really good run at one point and got up to Soul, and Soul kind of got it back together. I think Soul had a rough few laps, and then once Camby got there and the pressure got there, Soul got it back together, and Camby started to have some rough laps. Soul started to build the gap again, and Soul won the race. So I got to give credit to Soul for this win. Even though there was some cheese with it, we'll get to that. It was still a good win out of Soul. did everything that he needed to do to win this race. So congrats to Soul on that. He was the upset winner of this grand final. And he didn't know if he'd get another win after winning the first race in the schedule. Well, here we go. Jade Park ended up doing it. So congrats to him, and shout out to him on that, on a really well-ran race. So the cheese was Roman was running in third. Roman was running in third. It was Soul, Camby, 1-2. And Roman was getting kind of close to Camby at one point, but then Detail and I started applying pressure behind Roman. Roman started running really defensive at that point, and it got so defensive that we ended up losing time pretty consistently to the top two. And it took a long time for Detail and I to get by Roman. And once we got by Roman, made some pretty big gains, and I think Detail and I both probably would have gotten by Soul if we could have passed Roman like 15 laps earlier, but that did not happen. And Roman held off just long enough to where it didn't really help out his race, because he eventually ended up finishing all the way back in fifth. But it really did affect our races, and I ended up getting third. Detail ended up getting second. Weren't able to get up to the win. And like I said, I think I had good pace, but I think Detail is easily the fastest on this track. And again, like I said, 15 laps, even 5 laps. It ended up being really close. Like even 5 laps sooner, I think he probably gets the win. And I think this is the crucial race, because that win would have gotten him that bonus point. It would have equalized him with my win and with Roman's win as well. It would have set him up really well going into this final race, not just for the regular season title, but for the grand final title as well. That being said, the way this grand final was playing out, I think the regular season, even if he did take this win, let's say Soul got third, I got second or something like that, I feel like that's a scenario that could have happened. You know, if it played out like that, I still would have been in a pretty good position to take the regular season championship. He could have took both. He could have took both for sure. But I think I still would have been in a pretty good position for that. And I think there's a very realistic scenario where he could have won the grand final, but I won the regular season. Like, I think that's probably what would have happened if this race played out this way. But we'll never know. We'll never know. But just like realistically, the way points would have worked out, I think that's probably what would have happened. But it changes everything, right? It changes the starting positions, and like you just really don't know. You just really don't know. But that's why I think this was the crucial race, because I think he, on pace, I think this was his best track on the night, and I think he should have won it and didn't. And I think that's why this was the crucial race of the night for both championship battles. The crucial race of the night for Roman's championship battles was the first one, because it got last. I didn't mean to word that like a burn, but that's just like factual information, right? But hey, at least for Roman, we go to the final race, Kai Curry, and he continues his Hog TRS dominance, got another win there. And yeah, won that race, capped the season off with a win. He got 2 wins in the grand finals, but he got 2 wins in a last and a fifth. So just all over the place, right? Detail was super consistent on the podiums, 3-2-2-3. And then I had the 1-4-3-2. So we were a lot more like consistent. I had the 1 win, which really helped me out. But yeah, Roman had 2 wins, but he was just like, his other finishes were just all over the place. So just not enough consistency there. Yeah, he won that one. I got second. It was really close at the end. Detail got third. Soul got 4th, Camby 5th, Hunter 6th, and Slaunch 7th. So final results for the grand final was I ended up winning it by just that 1 point over Detail. Although he could have finished a position ahead of me, I still would have had tiebreaker for the grand final there too. So I just needed to finish like close to him because again, I had that win tiebreaker. So, but I ended up getting it anyways. So 59 points to his 58. Roman third with 55. Again, you got to think, you know, that Autodome finish, what could have happened? Like that really started his night off on the wrong foot. But it's still a good grand final though. Another podium in a grand final for Roman's a good grand final. I don't think you could, and 2 wins. I don't think you'd be too upset with it. Soul, I got to give a quick shout out to Soul. This 4th was like a very low key 4th, and he was 1 point off Roman. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. Obviously, the Jade Park finish played a big role in that. But I think Soul's got to be pretty happy with that. I think Soul's got to be pretty happy with that. You know, it was a rough season overall for Soul, and you know, losing that overall was like brutal in the beginning. But this 4th in the grand finals and getting a win in the grand final and being that close to the podium, I think it's a pretty good note to end on. And then 5th for Slaunch. This is kind of an unfortunate one for Slaunch because Slaunch had a really good start to the night. That being said, I think Slaunch's key was not getting screwed in the beginning of Haagen-Dazs. I think Slaunch needed to win. You know, like I was going through the different tracks favoring, like I think mine was Autodome. I think Slaunch's was his own track, Haagen-Dazs. I think Jade Park was Details. And then I think Akai Curie was Romans. So I think that's kind of like the balance of how like I expected things to go. I thought there was a very realistic scenario where it could be 4 different winners and it'd be those winners on those tracks. But the difference maker here is like, you know, Roman won on his track that I think should have won on. I won on my track that I should have won on. But yeah, there was the upset at Jade Park and the upset at Haagen-Dazs. And I think that really hurt Slaunch a lot. Those 3 extra points, if he could have got the win on his home track, I think that would have helped him out a ton. But of course, ended up, you know, not happening. And yeah, and then the second half of the night was just brutal. Slaunch had some opportunities on Jade Park, but just overall just did not have the pace. And then Akai Curie, he had like a black screen at one point, and it's just super unfortunate. So, yeah, sad way for Slaunch's season to end. Unfortunate for his grand final to go the way that it did, especially when he was as competitive as he was in the Mega Mix grand final. He was really competitive in that one. But overall, I do think it sums up Slaunch's short track showdown season pretty well. Where, yeah, like good pace in some of it, but just not able to get there in other parts of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in mixed terrain. I think he'll be pretty good in it. I think Slaunch will probably have a bounce back in mixed terrain, especially because the terrain ovals are coming back, and he's been kind of, you know, he figured that out from halfway through this season to the rest of it. Like, he figured that out and has been a lot better on those. I think he'll be great on MX. I think he'll be great on the pure terrain tracks as well. The RXs is the question mark for me because for whatever reason, Slaunch has been kind of iffy on those historically. But yeah, I think he'll have a bounce back. We'll see. Camby 6th, kind of where Camby... The next are kind of where they ran, like, right? Like Camby 6th, Hunter 7th, Blake 8th. Like, that's kind of where they ran on the season. So really close between Camby and Hunter, actually. But again, it's kind of where they ran on the season, so nothing too surprising for those guys' placements. But for a few specific races, Camby had a really good run on Jade Park, had a chance to win that damn race. And another top 5 on Akai Curie, and Hunter had a top 5 on Haagen-Dazs. Really good performance from Hunter there. So a couple shout outs to them. The hiccups are coming, of course, on those particular races. But that sums it up. And then the regular season, of course, the regular season standings, not getting a mulligan for that. That really hurt Roman in that first race. He ended up getting 3rd where he was. I ended up clutching up the regular season points as well. And look at how close it was. It was a 1-point gap for grand final, a 4-point gap for regular season. Super close. All the championships have been really close this year so far. Yeah, like relatively Mega Mix had a bigger gap, but that was also a longer season, so that's a little bit, you know, expected. But yeah, the grand finals have been super close. The tournament that we ran was super close, and the regular seasons have been really close as well. So that's good stuff. You love to see that. Let's go over to this doc for looking at that stuff. There we go. But yeah, so 297. Detail with 293, Roman with 282, Slaunch with 254, Soul with 248, Camby with 227, Hunter with 207, Blake 151, Vulcan 146, Coop 111, and Armada 110. So there you have it. So there's the results, the points results, general points results for the short track showdown, and you see the stat breakdown there and like kind of how things went. And then let's take a look at a final look at the track-specific division championships here. Detail clutched it up by 1 point. The Firehawk GK, the closest one, he clutched it up by 1 point. I ended up taking second with 95. And then Soul, with that win, got on the podium. Got on the podium for Firehawk GK. Did you expect that? I did not, but wow, what a clutch up. He gained 2 spots and clutched up the podium in a tiebreaker. That's pretty sick. So shout out to Soul for that. There's another thing to hang your hat on, Soul. Getting a podium in a division title is not an easy thing to do. But again, congrats to Detail on taking that one. And then I ended up taking the Terrain Oval title by 8 points over Slaunch. And yeah, not too surprising. I had a pretty consistent season. Slaunch did get really hot here in the middle and at the end. But again, that beginning... those rough finishes at the beginning were just a little too much to overcome, I think, for him. It was just a little too much. So yeah, kind of went how I expected. That being said, I got to give credit to Slaunch for you know, making it that close of a fight and making it that interesting after having that rough of a start. Like, it was a really typical comeback from him, and it made things a lot more exciting for this title. But yeah, so that, and then Detail ended up clutching up. He took Roman. Roman lost 2 podium positions. Wow. Because Detail pushed him out of this one. So Detail worked his way into the podium, running at the podium for that one was 78. Which I think that makes sense there too, because again, a couple bad finishes, right? And then one of them was a mulligan, couple bad finishes, but for the most part, Detail just couldn't get a win. He had good podiums, and he generally had like good speed, and you know, some races the results didn't come, but hey, over half of them he was on the podium. Like, he had a decent terrain oval season, just couldn't get a win. I think that was the main thing. Yeah, there you go. There's the terrain oval finishing order. Then we go to AX, and Detail clutches this one out too. So he took 2 division titles on the season. Roman booped me down to 3rd, but we ended up both on the podium. Roman taking 2nd. I ended up taking 3rd for this one. Roman taking 2 wins at the very end. I had the 1 win on Noodleplex, and then Detail had 3 wins early on in the season and never finished off the podium, right? Roman and I had a couple of races where we didn't, but Detail never finished off the podium, the only driver to accomplish that in AX. So just absolutely deserved. He was really strong on AXs throughout the whole season. And yeah, just really good performance from him on this track type. We go to Hog TRS, and of course, just dominance from Roman. Just dominance from Roman. He had the 1 race with Barv Hog, but other than that, 5 wins. You know, pretty impressive. These last 2 were pretty close. I gave him a good run for his money at a few points in these last 2, but wasn't able to get there. And yeah, just like really strong performance. It's interesting because he hasn't been as strong on the hogs in particular, but recently with that tournament that we ran, and then with this Hog TRS, he's picked up a lot of hog W's recently. So, you know, maybe figured out something there, or maybe specifically with Hog TRS has something figured out there. So congrats to Roman. That's a really big W for him, taking a division title, and very well earned there too. I ended up taking 2nd for this one with 74. And Detail ended up taking 3rd with on this one with 71. So there you have it. Take a look at the schedule now and see how things played out. But as you can see, I had a really strong start to the season in terms of the, you know, overall events. And then Detail had a really strong middle portion where he started to take, he was getting the wins anyways, but he started to get the overall wins as well. And then in the back half, just couldn't get back to the top, unfortunately, and just a lot of really bad luck. Like, he probably should have taken at least 3 or 4 wins in the back half. So that's just like really unfortunate. The way some of those races played out were just brutal. Like Skyway, even though he didn't finish on the podium, Skyway should have at least been a podium. And then yeah, like Louisville, I think was a really good opportunity for a win. I think all the GKs were good opportunities for wins. Specifically Jade Park, but I think all those were good opportunities for wins there. That unfortunately wasn't able to get there. I think Westerling even had a chance, but yeah, just unfortunate second half of the season. On the other hand, Roman had a really strong second half of the season, but he wasn't able to make up for that middle portion where it was mostly me and Detail winning, and then, you know, like a Slaunch in there. And it did make up for it. He did get a lot more points, but it wasn't enough to quite get there to compete for the championship. As you can see, in the first 13 races, Roman got 2 wins, but in the back half of 13 races, he got 5. Right, so like big turnaround there. Big turnaround for myself as well, same deal, or similar deal. I think I had 3 wins in the first 13, and then 5 in the back half of 13, and Detail getting 5 in the first 13, and then 1 in the second half. The hell was that sound? I have to go back and see if that was in the VOD. That I'm freaking out, dude. It's fucking haunted. Okay, we gotta close this out. I don't know what the fuck that was. That was spooky. But yeah, Roman getting his 1 overall here, and then I ended up closing out the last two overalls. But yeah, that's how, you know, the season played out. Really strong start, and especially middle portion for Detail. And then Roman and I really strong back halves, and Slaunch a really strong middle. Slaunch a really strong middle portion as well. Started to work his way into those overall conversations after having, you know, like a really rough start. So that's kind of how it played out. That being said, it still ended up being a really close points battle. Like if you look at the points leader gap, look at this. Look at how close this stayed. The highest that it got, Detail got it to 6 points for a couple races, and then I got it to 6 points for one race. But that's like as far as it got for the regular season title. That is really close. Like this was an awesome championship, and it was easily one of the most competitive ones that we've had for sure. And we've had a lot of these since coming back. Like the Woo season was really competitive. The first series that we ran, that Firestone Firehog series last year, I feel like was kind of similar to this too, where it was really back and forth and competitive. We've had a lot of seasons like this ever since coming back, and we just had another one with the Short Track Showdown. And the Detail and I battle doesn't show, you know, the fact that Roman was right there in third, you know, knocking on the door and keeping things interesting as well. So it was good stuff. It was the first time we've had like a legitimate three-way points lead battle ever since Firestone Firehog that we ran on Sundays in late 2022. That one was Slaunch, Detail, and I. We were really close. And that was a legitimate three-way battle between us and that one. So this is the first one that I think was a legitimate three-way battle that was that close since then. So it's been a while. It's been a while since we've had that. And I'm glad that we had that. I think that, you know, is more interesting and more fun to watch, and it's good. And we'll have to see how the next season goes. And if it could be a 3- or 4-way battle, that would be awesome. Would hope to see that. We'll have to see how it plays out. But anyways, I'll show the different, like, there's the different titles and stuff here too. I'm gonna move my cam up for this. There we go. But you can take a look at these too if you want to see these. Like you see, again, Detail took the 2 division titles. I took 1. Roman took 1. No Grand Slams. No Grand Slams. Aw, my Balatro. Oh, I hit the end of the 1-hour loop. There's no way, bro. No Grand Slams this season. That honestly didn't really surprise me that much. I had the longest overall streak with 3, the longest moto win streak with 3. Detail had the largest overall winning margin, 4 points. That's it. That's it. That's how tight this season was. The closest overall winning margin was myself with a tiebreaker. Largest overall position plus minus, I had a plus 26. Largest moto position plus minus. Many different awards of 9 here. We'll work on these other ones as well. The only one that we have determined with this is that Blake's win here on Demetria is definitely the biggest upset win. All right, I don't think I have anything else to cover. I think that's about it. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Shout out to specifically shout out to Detail and Roman on a great season and grand final points battle. It was a lot of fun throughout the season. I really enjoyed it. And again, I hope we have some more good battles to come in the future with the HRL Mixed Terrain series, and there'll be more stuff coming out on that, more announcements, more videos, you know, probably another trailer before it comes out, more tracks being released, stuff posted in the Discord, so make sure you keep your eyes out on that. And I'm going to try to think up some stuff, like, so how we had the tournament. We had the tournament before starting up the Summer Short Track Showdown. I want to do some stuff like that in the off weeks. I might do some Forza Fridays. We did some stuff like that at some point recently. I thought that was pretty fun. I might try to do some more Forza Fridays. I might do another tournament style thing. Just keep your eyes open on the Discord for excuse me, announcements on that, because I want to do some more stuff like that. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. Signing off for the last time on the Short Track Showdown. Was a great season. Was a lot of fun. Was a great concept. And yeah, would definitely do another Short Track Showdown, maybe with like different track types or like a switch up on that. I don't know. I would definitely do it again. I think this is a really good concept. I think it was a lot of fun, and I loved it. I loved it. I think this would definitely work again for sure. All right. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought on, you know, your season as a whole, or the season as a whole as well, from your perspective and stuff like that. I'd be interested in reading that in the comments, since this is the last video coming out on this. All right, GG's, and see you guys later.